Welcome to the Explainer. For as long as there's been war, there's been one constant enemy: pure, total confusion. Today, we're talking about a military idea that promised to change all that. You've probably heard the term fog of war, right? It was coined by this brilliant military thinker, Karl von Clausewitz. And what he meant was that the battlefield is this twilight zone. Everything's uncertain, information is garbage, and chaos is pretty much the default setting. But what if you could actually lift that fog? What if you could give every single soldier, every pilot, every commander, a kind of God's eye view of the whole thing in real time? I mean, what would that even look like? Well, asking that exact question led to a really revolutionary and honestly a pretty controversial military doctrine. All right, so let's get into it. This whole idea is called network-centric warfare, or NCW for short. And to really get it, we've got to start with the basic problem it was trying to fix. So you gotta picture the old way of doing things. Every unit was basically in its own little bubble, its own information silo. A tank commander knew what he could see out his viewport, a pilot knew what she could see from the cockpit, and some poor soul back at headquarters was trying to stitch it all together from these spotty, delayed radio calls. And that lag, it could be deadly. We're talking friendly fire incidents, huge missed opportunities, just terrible mistakes. Okay, so what is this big idea? What is network-centric warfare, really? How do you even begin to fix a problem that's literally as old as fighting itself? Right, that's the textbook definition. It sounds complicated, but the core idea is actually pretty simple. Imagine a military social network. Seriously. The whole point is to connect everyone and everything. We're talking drones, satellites, soldiers on the ground with their GPS, the commanders back at base, all onto one giant, super fast network. Every sensor, anything that can see something, shares what it sees. That way, every shooter knows exactly where to act, and they know it instantly. And this right here, this shows you just how massive a change this is. On the left, you've got the old way, platform-centric. Your power is in the individual thing, that one battleship, that one fighter jet. But look at the right. That's the NCW model. The power isn't in any single dot on that map anymore. The real power is in the network itself, how strong and how fast that whole web of connections is. All right, so let's dig into how this is all supposed to actually play out on the ground. Because it's not just about cool new gadgets and tech, it's about how that tech creates this chain reaction of advantages, and it all starts with better information. So, this is the four-step logic at the heart of the whole thing. First, you get everybody connected on the network. Simple enough. That connection lets you share information way better, which leads to step 2, shared awareness. Basically, everyone is looking at the same map of the battlefield. And this is the magic part, step 3. When everyone sees the same thing, they can self-synchronize. They can work together, almost like a flock of birds, without needing someone to bark orders for every little move. And the end result, step 4, a huge dramatic increase in how effective they are. I know, this all sounds amazing on a PowerPoint slide, but does it actually work in the real world? Or, as close as you can get to it? To figure that out, the US military ran these intense experiments. They took a brand new, super networked Stryker brigade and threw them into a simulated battle against a regular, old-school force. And the results? Well, they were pretty mind-blowing. So get this. Normally, in one of these exercises, you'd expect a friendly-to-enemy casualty ratio of maybe 10 to 1. But for the networked guys, it dropped to 1 to 1. I mean, that is an absolutely massive jump in effectiveness, and just keeping your own people safe. And check this out. It's all about speed. Because the information was flying around so fast, commanders could make these critical life-or-death decisions in just 3 hours. The old way, it took them a full 24 hours. This let them get inside their enemy's head, basically. They were acting faster than the other side could even think about reacting. And this chart really shows you why all that happened. Look at the quality of information that individual soldiers had. Their real, boots-on-the-ground understanding of what was going on around them. It went from a measly 10% in a traditional force to an unbelievable 80%. The fog of war was literally being burned away. But look, any change this massive is never going to be that simple, right? For all its incredible promise, NCW also comes with some huge risks, and it has its fair share of diehard fans and, well, some really sharp critics. On one side, you have supporters like former Vice President Dick Cheney. He points to this unbelievable speed up. I mean, think about it. During Desert Storm, it could take 2 full days just to get a photo of a target. By the early 2000s, you could get real-time images with coordinates zapped directly to a pilot who's already in the air. For proponents, this speed and precision isn't just an improvement, it's a war-winning game changer.
But then you have the critics, who see a really dangerous downside to all this. A sociologist named Charles Perrow warned that when you build this super complex, high-tech system, you're also building one giant single point of failure, right? An enemy doesn't have to beat your tanks if they can just, I don't know, knock out your GPS satellites or launch a massive cyber attack.
So that's the big debate, right? Is network-centric warfare this incredible new advantage, or is it a fragile glass cannon just waiting to shatter? And the concerns are really serious. I mean, there's the obvious one. You become totally dependent on technology. The whole thing could grind to a halt because of a single GPS blackout or a clever hack. But it goes beyond just the tech. What about the human side of things? How do you even fight alongside allies who don't have all the same fancy gear? And maybe most important of all, what happens to a commander who's just being flooded with data 24/7? Does it really lead to better decisions, or just information overload and bad rushed calls?
Okay, so we've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly. After all that, what's the big takeaway here? What's the bottom line on network-centric warfare?
Well, one thing is for sure, networking forces is not a silver bullet. It's not magic, but it is an incredibly powerful and complex tool. It has totally reshaped the modern battlefield by putting information right at the very center of warfare. It doesn't get rid of that fundamental chaos of war. That fog and friction is always going to be there. It just changes what the fight is all about. Suddenly, information is just as important as ammunition. And that leaves us with this one big final question, a question that goes way beyond the battlefield. We're all drowning in information these days, right? Whether you're in a military command center, a corporate boardroom, or just scrolling through your phone. But does having more information, does it always lead to better decisions? Does it make us wiser? That's the real challenge at the heart of our super connected world.